Updated parameters for the Drake equation incorporate recent discoveries about planetary formation rates, atmospheric stability, and technological development timelines. Current calculations suggest that thousands of technological civilizations exist within our galaxy based on observed exoplanet populations and chemical signatures indicating industrial activity. Recent astronomical surveys identified over 4,000 confirmed exoplanets, with hundreds located within habitable zones where liquid water can exist. Statistical analysis indicates that nearly every star system contains planetary bodies, with approximately 20% featuring planets within optimal temperature ranges for supporting complex life. The James Webb Space Telescope detected ozone signatures on WASP-43b that indicate atmospheric chemistry consistent with technological modification. These atmospheric compositions require industrial processes to maintain stable ratios of gases that wouldn't occur naturally. The detection capabilities of modern space telescopes allow scientists to identify specific chemical markers that distinguish between natural planetary atmospheres and those modified by technological civilizations. The scientific community increasingly acknowledges that extraterrestrial contact represents a probable scenario rather than speculative possibility. Peer-reviewed research papers now discuss extraterrestrial visitation as a hypothesis worthy of serious investigation based on accumulating evidence from multiple disciplines. Academic conferences include presentations that examine unusual aerial phenomena within the framework of possible extraterrestrial contact scenarios. The convergence of space discoveries creates scientific foundations that support the possibility of ancient contact with increasing credibility. Certain biblical passages, particularly Ezekiel's detailed technical descriptions, describe aerial phenomena with characteristics that match what modern space science confirms as technologically feasible. When you examine these ancient accounts alongside credible modern observations, the parallels become difficult to ignore. The question becomes whether these similarities represent coincidence or documentation of the same phenomena across thousands of years. Modern UFO encounters mirror ancient descriptions. Military pilots and radar operators across multiple branches of the armed forces document encounters with aircraft that demonstrate flight characteristics identical to those described in ancient texts. The U.S. Navy has confirmed the authenticity of several videos showing objects that move with omnidirectional capabilities, accelerating instantly in any direction without the rotational limitations that constrain conventional aircraft. These objects exhibit the same wheels within wheels movement patterns that Ezekiel documented in his spacecraft encounter. The vehicles change direction instantaneously, hover without visible propulsion systems, and accelerate at speeds that exceed known physics limitations for human-built aircraft. Navy personnel describe encounters with craft that produce electromagnetic effects identical to biblical accounts of divine vehicles. Pilots report instrument malfunctions, radio interference, and electrical system failures when approaching these objects. The electromagnetic signatures match descriptions from ancient texts where divine vehicles caused metal objects to become charged and created atmospheric disturbances. Modern encounters document the same acoustic characteristics that ancient witnesses described, including low-frequency vibrations that penetrate aircraft hulls and create physical sensations in human operators. The Pentagon UAP reports contain technical specifications that align precisely with ancient spacecraft descriptions found in religious texts. Military radar systems track objects that demonstrate controlled flight patterns, precision maneuvering capabilities, and propulsion characteristics that match biblical accounts of divine vehicles. These craft exhibit metallic construction with reflective surfaces that ancient witnesses described using available terminology. Modern instrumentation confirms that these objects possess solid construction rather than atmospheric phenomena or optical illusions. Pentagon documentation reveals that UAP encounters occur with vehicles measuring dimensions comparable to ancient descriptions of divine craft. Radar analysis shows objects ranging from 40 to 100 feet in length with geometric shapes that correspond to biblical specifications for divine vehicles. The craft demonstrates structural integrity that allows high-speed atmospheric operations while maintaining controlled flight patterns. Military observers note that these vehicles appear designed for atmospheric operations rather than space-only travel, matching ancient accounts of craft specifically built for Earth-based missions. Witness testimonies from military encounters consistently describe occupants wearing reflective protective suits identical to ancient descriptions of divine beings. Personnel report observing humanoid figures through transparent sections of the craft, noting that these beings wear metallic garments that reflect light and appear to cover their entire bodies. The protective equipment includes helmets or headpieces that conceal facial features, matching biblical descriptions of divine beings whose faces were hidden behind reflective coverings. Military witnesses describe these beings as human-like in proportions but requiring environmental protection suits for Earth operations. Contemporary encounter reports document procedures that focus specifically on genetic material collection and biological assessment. These examinations concentrate on reproductive capabilities, genetic health assessment, and biological compatibility testing that aligns with ancient accounts of breeding program monitoring. The medical technology observed during modern encounters demonstrates capabilities that exceed current human medical science while matching ancient descriptions of divine healing and modification procedures. Witnesses describe instruments that scan internal body structures without invasive procedures and devices that extract genetic material without surgical intervention. Geographic analysis reveals that modern UAP encounters occur at the same locations where ancient texts document divine visitations. Military bases and civilian areas that experience frequent UAP activity correspond to sites mentioned in biblical accounts, Sumerian texts, and other ancient records describing divine encounters. Archaeological sites with evidence of ancient astronaut activity continue experiencing modern UAP phenomena, suggesting ongoing operations at established locations. The geographic correlation indicates continuous utilization of specific sites for thousands of years rather than random encounter patterns. Government disclosure documents reveal ongoing contact protocols between military authorities and beings that match ancient descriptions of divine entities. Classified communications describe interaction procedures, technology exchange programs, and monitoring agreements that parallel ancient accounts of divine human cooperation. These documents indicate that contact continues operating under structured protocols rather than random visitation events. The official acknowledgement of ongoing interaction confirms that ancient astronaut contact never ceased but shifted to classified government oversight. Military encounter patterns indicate systematic surveillance operations that match ancient accounts of divine monitoring programs. UAP activity concentrates around military installations, nuclear facilities, and technological development centers, suggesting ongoing assessment of human advancement levels. The surveillance operations demonstrate interest in human technological progress while maintaining distance protocols that prevent general population awareness. This monitoring pattern corresponds to ancient accounts where divine beings observed human development while limiting direct interaction to selected individuals. The consistency between ancient descriptions and modern encounters suggests continuous operation by the same technological civilization across thousands of years. Ancient divine beings and modern UAP occupants demonstrate identical capabilities, appearance characteristics, and operational procedures. The technological specifications remain consistent while human interpretation shifts from religious to scientific frameworks. Rather than separate phenomena, ancient divine encounters and modern UAP activity represent different phases of ongoing contact between humanity and an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. The timing of increased UAP disclosure and government acknowledgement appears coordinated with humanity's rapid technological advancement. Our development of genetic engineering, space exploration capabilities, and nuclear technology may have triggered renewed interest from our ancient visitors. The systematic nature of modern encounters suggests we are approaching a critical threshold that demands their attention. The return, why they're coming back now. Ancient prophecies embedded within biblical texts, Sumerian tablets, and Hindu manuscripts contain specific predictions about the return of divine beings when humanity achieves particular technological milestones. These texts consistently describe a future period when the sons of heaven reveal themselves to their human creation after observing sufficient advancement in human capabilities. The prophecies specify technological markers including the ability to split atoms, manipulate genetic material, and travel beyond Earth's atmosphere. Our current mastery of nuclear technology, genetic engineering, and space exploration represents the exact capabilities that ancient texts identify as triggering conditions for divine return. Our current genetic engineering capabilities represent the technological threshold that ancient texts identify as the return signal. Human scientists now manipulate DNA sequences, create genetically modified organisms, and edit genetic codes with precision that approaches the capabilities described in ancient creation accounts. This genetic manipulation technology demonstrates that humanity has achieved the scientific understanding necessary to comprehend the genetic modification programs documented in biblical and Sumerian texts. The development of CRISPR gene editing, cloning technology, and genetic sequencing capabilities signals that humans can now understand and potentially replicate the genetic modifications that created our species. Space exploration achievements during the past decade demonstrate humanity's emergence as a spacefaring civilization capable of detecting and potentially contacting extraterrestrial life. The James Webb Space Telescope, Mars rover missions, and interplanetary probe programs represent technological capabilities that mark humanity as ready for inclusion in galactic civilization networks. Ancient prophecies describe this spacefaring capability as the prerequisite for open contact with advanced beings who monitor developing species throughout the galaxy. Our detection of exoplanets, atmospheric analysis capabilities, and search for extraterrestrial intelligence programs indicate that humanity possesses the scientific framework necessary for meaningful contact. The dramatic increase in government UFO disclosure during recent years suggests coordinated preparation for open contact rather than random policy changes. Military officials now acknowledge UAP encounters that previous administrations classified or denied completely. The U.S. Navy's confirmation of authentic UAP videos represents a fundamental shift in official policy toward these phenomena. Congressional hearings on UAP encounters and the establishment of government UAP investigation programs indicate systematic preparation for public acknowledgement of extraterrestrial contact. This disclosure timeline appears carefully managed to gradually acclimate public opinion to the reality of non-human intelligence operating on Earth. Nuclear weapons development represents the technological achievement that ancient texts identify as humanity's graduation into potential galactic citizenship. The ability to harness atomic energy demonstrates scientific understanding that qualifies human civilization for interaction with advanced beings who possess similar capabilities. Ancient prophecies describe nuclear technology as both an achievement milestone and a potential threat that triggers intervention protocols. The timing of increased UAP activity following nuclear weapons testing suggests that our atomic capabilities activated monitoring systems that alert extraterrestrial civilizations to emerging technological species requiring guidance or intervention. Climate change and environmental degradation may have triggered intervention protocols designed to prevent human civilization collapse during critical development phases. Ancient texts describe periodic interventions when human societies face existential threats that could terminate their technological advancement. The current environmental crisis represents exactly the type of civilization-threatening challenge that prompts divine intervention according to prophetic accounts. Advanced beings who invested thousands of years in human genetic modification and technological guidance would logically intervene to prevent the loss of their long-term development project. Recent space exploration efforts likely activated detection systems that monitor human technological progress and signal when species achieve spacefaring capabilities. Our Mars missions, asteroid exploration programs, and deep space probe launches create electromagnetic signatures that advanced civilizations can detect from interstellar distances. Ancient texts describe monitoring systems that track developing species and alert administrators when intervention or contact becomes appropriate. The exponential increase in human space activities during recent decades represents exactly the type of expansion that triggers return protocols described in prophetic literature. The genetic markers implanted during original human modification may function as identification systems that activate when humans achieve sufficient scientific understanding to recognize their artificial origin. Modern genetic sequencing technology now allows humans to identify the genetic modifications that distinguish our species from natural evolutionary development. These genetic markers could contain activation sequences that signal advanced monitoring systems when humans develop the capability to understand their own artificial enhancement. The timing of genetic discoveries correlating with increased UFO disclosure suggests that human scientific advancement activated predetermined contact protocols. The coordination between genetic research breakthroughs and government UFO acknowledgement indicates planned revelation rather than coincidental timing. Scientific discoveries about human genetic anomalies coincide precisely with military disclosure of UAP encounters and government acknowledgement of non-human intelligence. This synchronized revelation suggests orchestrated preparation for comprehensive contact disclosure rather than independent developments occurring simultaneously by chance. The coordination implies that both scientific discoveries and government disclosure follow predetermined schedules designed to prepare humanity for contact revelation. We may be witnessing the implementation of return protocols that ancient beings established thousands of years ago when they first modified human genetics and established monitoring systems. The convergence of technological achievement, environmental crisis, and increased extraterrestrial visibility represents the fulfillment of prophetic conditions that trigger open contact phases. Human civilization has reached the technological maturity necessary to understand our artificial origins while facing existential challenges that require advanced guidance. Multiple lines of evidence from completely different fields of study now point toward the same remarkable conclusion. The evidence spans multiple scientific disciplines that traditionally operate independently from each other. Stanford's 2025 DNA research reveals artificial genetic modifications in human chromosome 2 that appeared without evolutionary precedent. Computer analysis of biblical text shows systematic mistranslation of technological encounters into religious doctrine. Modern military encounters document craft with identical capabilities to ancient divine vehicles described in religious texts. Archaeological sites worldwide contain evidence of advanced construction techniques and thermal modification that exceed ancient human technological capabilities. These discoveries from genetics, linguistics, aerospace analysis, and archaeology converge on the same conclusion despite originating from completely separate research programs. We stand at a threshold where science validates ancient accounts that documented real technological encounters rather than spiritual mythology. The question now becomes whether humanity is prepared for the next phase of contact with our creators.